Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And way hey, we've made it through to Friday, another week nearly done and dusted. Now, of course, there is a whole bunch of stories that we'd like to do today across very many different subjects. But by dint of actually being the main story, of course, the first few are all going to be more or less about the same thing. I make no apologies about that, but it is a story that we need to deal with and then put it to bed and move on. And of course, the order in which I do them is probably unimportant, so I've decided that we'll start with Neil Gray, a man who has never run a department like health before, which involves dealing with many, many people. It's a very large department. It's one of the biggest budgets in government. He's come from a small department with a small budget where it's more a paper-pushing exercise rather than actually dealing with things exercise. It's outside of his experience. He doesn't know anything about health. And yet here he is, promoted to health minister. Or as I'd like to think, over-promoted beyond his skill set. I think it's something that he cannot deal with. I think bad as all the others have been, Neil Gray is going to be no improvement whatsoever. He's day one in his job, but he's probably already got his head in his hands and is crying at how hard the job is. But we've got to start somewhere, so let's start with Neil Gray. Here goes. So Neil Gray replaces disgraced Health Secretary Michael Matheson as weak Humza Yousaf shuffles his jokers. I've heard other descriptions, such as rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, which is also very, very apt. It is a ship that is sinking because the captain hasn't got a clue where he's going. The former Wellbeing Economy Secretary will leave that brief to take over from the disgraced former Scottish Government Health Secretary in the first of the First Minister's reshuffle. Well, it's not much of a shuffle when you're taking a man who's never had any kind of experience like running the major department of health and dropping him right in it day one. Gray will not have a clue what he's doing. It's going to take him a week, 10 days, a month just to grasp the difficulty of the job he's doing. And so, hands up, children. Who thinks Neil Gray's going to be great as a health secretary? No, I didn't see your hands go up either. Anyway, it's going to be... I don't know if it's possible, but it's probably even worse than Matheson. I don't know. I just get the impression that Neil Gray is one of those who is just basically incompetent in whatever role he's given. He doesn't strike me as someone who can run with a problem from day one. He just doesn't. Anyway, close Humza Yousaf ally Neil Gray has been appointed Health Secretary to replace the disgraced Michael Matheson. He was formerly the Wellbeing Economy Secretary, but now will be promoted to a more senior role in the SNP cabinet. I think over-promoted, as I say. Massive jump for a man like that. His promotion to health brief becomes despite him having no background in the sector, as he was formerly a journalist and holds a politics degree. So, that's obviously the best choice for a health secretary then. Mr Gray managed the First Minister's campaign to replace Nicola Sturgeon and is seen as his closest friend within the current administration. Because that's very important that you promote someone who's your friend. Don't promote someone who actually knows what they're doing or has any kind of background in health. Oh, good Lord, no. He'll now be the de facto third most important member of Mr Yousaf's cabinet and has a huge challenge ahead of him, grappling with an NHS which has been engulfed in winter chaos. Scots facing massive backlog in non-emergency procedures and waiting times in A&E wards remain at a near record high. And don't even ask, of course, I'm not saying there, but don't even ask about oncology. The cancer waiting list is made more or less now just a death list. It is, it's so bad that people will go from having just a little niggle to stage 4 cancer before they're even seen. That's how bad it is. It's a sad thing, but if you can afford private medicine, get private medicine, even if it's explicitly just for the cancer. Anyway, Mr. Matheson resigned from the role on Thursday amid an ongoing parliamentary probe into his expenses after he attempted to claw back £11,000 of taxpayer cash in a huge data roaming bill from his festive holidays in Morocco. I don't like the idea of calling it a clawback of £11,000 of cash. Call it what it was. Attempted to defraud the public purse. Initially he said this was all down to parliamentary business, blah, blah, blah. We've covered this story and we all know. A spokesman for the First Minister said on Thursday, yesterday, that it was just a mistake, as was the whole scandal. Alas, it was not a mistake. A mistake is something you admit to. He denied and denied and denied and lied and lied and lied. That was his mistake. That and the fact that he shouldn't have been sitting in the hotel room knocking one out. It's understood that Matheson will be reported to the Standards Committee due to his original expenses claim and could face disciplinary action, like a suspension from Holyrood. But he claimed in his resignation letter that he only left to not become a distraction for the Scottish Government. If that was the case, Michael, you'd have left months ago. He said he's not seen the parliamentary report. Well, he may not have officially seen it. He may not have been handed it. But I believe that is a load of rubbish and that he certainly well knew what was in it. Somebody will have tipped him off and he will have seen that and he'd have gone, oh God, that's even worse than I thought. I best go now and I can say that I've not officially seen it. They think we're stupid, but we're not stupid. Mr. Yousaf is undertaking a mini reshuffle with Fiona Hislop, a long-time cabinet member under previous administrations. She's been promoted to the Cabinet Secretary for Transport. Oh, that's handy then. This is a woman who can now, who's admitted she doesn't like cars, is now head of transport. And I suppose the only transport she's interested is, a bit like in Blackmore. Sorry, I've got to stop laughing because she is the female Ian, isn't she? She old Tubby. She's another one. Very fond of the old Greg Dummy. Mary McCallan has added the Wellbeing, Economy and Energy brief to her role as Net Zero Secretary. So she, again, has now got two jobs to fail in. Obviously, she's not very good at one, and she lies, as we know. We did the video yesterday about her lying. People beating their way to her door to ask her about Net Zero, which was, a lie. And now she's got another role as well. Well, it goes to show, really, if Mary McCallan can do the role that Neil Gray had, as well as her own role, then Neil Gray must have been seriously underemployed. Anyway, there's also 3 new ministerial roles, with Christine McKelvey, now the Drugs and Alcohol Policy Minister, taken over from Alina Whittam. Corcab Stewart moving from the backbenches to fill the International Development brief, left by Miss McKelvey. And Jim Fairley becoming a Junior Minister for Agriculture and Connectivity, working under Miss Hislop and the Rural Affairs Secretary, Mary Goodson. Now, I will say about Fairley, he's got a bit of a colourful history, hasn't he? We can leave that one. We all know what he said. So it's almost as though he's promoting failure. Are you not very good at your job? Do you not understand the issues? Are you incapable of making decisions? Join the SNP and you can rise all the way to the very top. Honestly, it's a party of losers, isn't it? Anyway, the reshuffle has been ridiculed by opposition parties. Scottish Labour Deputy Leader Jackie Bailey saying, this weak First Minister can reshuffle the pack all he wants. The fact is that all the cards left are jokers. After 17 years, it's clear that this tired SNP government is out of ideas and out of road. And, soon to be out of office with a bit of luck. She says, our NHS is in crisis, the economy is stagnated, the cost of living is hammering Scots. Neil Gray has his work cut out for him as he tries to get a grip with the crisis in our NHS. The need for change could not be clearer. And let's face it, Neil Gray will fail. He is not up to the job. I will call it now. I suspect Neil Gray will possibly... This will be the job, I think, that will force Neil Gray out of politics. I think it'll be too much for him. I think he will stress out so much because he's never had a challenging job in politics before. And now, all of a sudden, he's got one of the most challenging jobs of them all. He's going to end up stimming in a corner and calling for nurse. Hey-ho. Anyway, that's what happens when you promote morons to replace wankers. Oh dear, poor Neil Gray. I don't feel sorry for him though. He's done it to himself. He's the one who insists that he's quite capable, and yet we know he isn't. Coming up. So, how long before the doctors and nurses go on strike in Scotland? Because Neil Gray will sit there and go, dum-de-dum-dum-dum, I don't know what I'm doing. Hey, that sounds like a good idea. Let's do that. Let's implement this. And he won't talk to anyone because he's a very arrogant man. He was in charge of energy, but he wasn't allowed to direct energy policy. That's how much faith Humza Yousaf had in the man. And now he makes him health secretary. They don't half pick him for health, don't they? It's one series of losers after another. I mean, it starts with Freeman. She was awful. Then Useless. He was awful. Then Matheson. Well, we all know what he was. And now you've got Gray. It's not good. It really isn't good. No wonder a third of Scots want to leave. Heyo. Still, there we go. That's that. First one out of the way. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button. Ring that bell. Leave a like. Leave a comment. Please share the video. And I will speak to you later. Bye.